Sup y'all, it's Thomas coming at you with a fresh market recap for today, April 12th, Tuesday. And first things first, we're gonna take a look at the S&P. Um, so we got our CPI data. Yesterday I didn't even bother making a recap because I knew just nothing's gonna matter because it's all CPI data that is going to decide everything, and that is kind of what happened. So we got our CPI numbers out. They were only slightly worse than what people expected. They're still really bad. Everyone's still scared of them. They are honestly not super accurate because obviously inflation's higher than what they said, 8.5% year over year or whatever. It's not the tell all of inflation. Everyone knows it's worse, probably going to get worse. So the news came out, people bought it. It sold off really hard yesterday going into it, so I expected a pop, and that's exactly what we got. We gapped open this morning from 440.58 all the way up. We gapped up to 442.40, and we got a fat gap. We pushed even after the open for about half an hour. We got some momentum. So yeah, we pushed up, and look at that. We met our key level right there at 445.15, broke through it, and we even have a gap to the upside right above that level. And it just could not even fill that gap. There wasn't enough momentum. It gapped up too hard. That's why I hate when it gaps up like that, because you just know the momentum is already spent pre-market, and it's just not going to get any more throughout the rest of the day, especially on news like CPI data. So all the momentum was spent. We hit that key level, and we got a hard rejection off of that. And after that, we were just in a downtrend all day. We got our lower low, lower high, lower high, lower low, just down, down, down until the very end of the day. We had a tiny bit of a bounce, but yeah, it was not looking good for the S&P. We opened on a gap to fill, which I'm super bearish about when we open on a gap up. And as you can tell, once we came down here, it rejected the gap at first, so that led me to believe, hey, maybe there's hope. Maybe we'll retest 445, push past it, but we couldn't even get up there. We bounced off of 440, 450, and then once we got to the gap, it just tumbled and completely filled that gap. And I was hoping maybe we'll see a bounce once gap's filled. I thought maybe that's all that was pulling it down, but that was not the case. We got a tiny little bounce. You can see these two little green candles we got here. That's all we got. It bounced up, and then big red engulfing candle, and all the way down to 436.65 was the low of the day. So we are still in this little channel I have drawn out. Still in this channel. We haven't hit the support on the channel, and that's going to be about 435.50. So I'm keeping an eye on that level tomorrow. If we break out of this channel, I expect us to dump all the way down to around 429 or 430, probably. There are no gaps to the downside, but that is just the next key level on this fib retracement that I've been following, and has honestly been pretty money ever for this entire pullback. And yeah, so we still have the gap to fill the upside on SPY now. So that's good for us bulls. That means if we get up there, it should plow through it. But the fact that it gapped up hard today, it couldn't even fill that gap, and then just rejected hard and sold off for the entire rest of the day is super, super bearish in my opinion. You can tell just this daily candle. It's just ugly. A big wick on top, and then just a big fat red body. Not good. Not looking good for the Bears or the Bulls. But tomorrow I'm just gonna wait and see what and then ironically, right where we stopped. Oh, check that out. That's the point of control right there on the volume profile, 445.76. That's exactly where we bounced off. So yeah, I was not watching for that. That was, I'm sure a lot of people made money on puts on that once they saw that rejection of that level. So now we're just heading back down towards support. We haven't broken out of this channel yet. I expect if we do, 430 definitely in the realm of possibility. And also you can see we bounced off on the 15 minute 50-day simple moving average, this red line. That was effectively resistance all day. We bounced off it here, came up, and that's exactly what it tested actually, and then just simmer down all the way down. So that's what I'm looking at on SPY. Not a whole lot in the in terms of news coming out. CPI data was kind of the big news, what everyone was looking forward to. So at this point, just hoping the bearish sentiment cools off a little bit. We can look at VIX. VIX headed back up towards 25. It bounced off 25. So if we see VIX back over 25, that'll probably scare a lot of people. We'll see more selling. Hopefully we keep below 25 on VIX. Head back under 20. That would be super bullish for the SPY. But yeah, otherwise it's just going to be towards the upside. We're just going to have to retake for 4,800 for SPX. So basically like 439 for SPY. Just got to retake that level. If I see tomorrow we open above that, test it, break it, I expect we'll go down, tap this resistance line or support line, and then hopefully see a bounce up back towards 442. But yeah, that's about it for SPY. Not seeing a great setup for bulls. Not really a great setup for bears either, because it's honestly getting to the point where we're oversold. I mean, we've been basically oversold on the hourly for a very long time. On the 4 hour, there's still, I mean, it's only about 40 on the RSI, so there's still room to go. Unfortunately, on the 4 hour, and then on the daily, there's still a lot of, I mean, we're not even oversold on the daily, so there's still a lot of room to the downside until we're really oversold. The last time we were oversold on SPY was here January 26th, and we bounced pretty hard off of that, and that bounce was a big fake out where it double tops and tumbled. So that is what we're looking for. Just got to keep an eye on the RSI, see if we ever get to oversold, because that'll be a red hot buying opportunity. Definitely going to be worried if we can't hold 415, because that will tell me that we have gotten a lower low. We got our higher high here. Now we're just looking for the lower low, and then we push for a higher high. So we'll be in a confirmed uptrend. For now, it is to be seen. AMD has a very nice. So first things first on AMD, you can just look at the RSI down here. Here, I can make this a bit bigger. A wee bit bigger. Also, this tape does not need to be showing. Yeah. Okay, whatever, forget it. So you can see the RSI on AMD. We're on the daily, we're getting close to oversold. Last time it was oversold, we were here at about $100. We bounced up to 130 within the matter of about a week and a half. So if we get back down to that much oversold on AMD, which would probably be around $91 to, yeah, maybe about 85. Honestly, 85 is basically the next key level for AMD. There's really not much in terms of support on the past chart. 85 is the next like big level where if it breaks that, I would be worried about AMD. But so yeah, the RSI on the daily is something to watch out for. On the 4 hour, it's already oversold, and you can see on the 4 hour, every time it gets oversold, it typically has a big bounce to the upside. So just watching out for that on AMD. It's and then you zoom in to the chart here, and I really like this setup. So we have a almost textbook falling wedge here. You can tell from the high up here, we have our support line coming down, and it's just been bouncing in between, and now those two lines are converging, they're coming together, and you always have to watch in a rising wedge, or falling wedge, you have to watch for the volume. And if the volume starts to simmer down as the support and resistance lines start closing in, then that is a very bullish sign telling you that the selling is getting weaker and weaker and is about to break out of this channel. And if it breaks out to the upside, it'll probably see a big spike in volume to the upside, and it will hopefully reclaim 100, the key level there at 100, obviously big psych level, and push past that. But that is my biggest watch for tomorrow, is because this falling wedge is about, I mean, it's about closing in. It's going to have to pick a side eventually on this. I have this line under these candles because I don't really count this candle. It was such a hard rejection. I mean, it broke out. It was literally just from the gap up today. So it gapped up, and then it couldn't even hold that. It rejected it hard, and we stayed under it for, it also rejected it over here. So I'm not going to have this line up here because I wouldn't really count that. It was such a hard rejection. AMD also with multiple gaps to fill the upside. We got 3 I see just right here. So I expect if it breaks out of this wedge, it's going to absolutely rip to the upside. If not, if we break the support line of the wedge, we could see AMD in the 80s very shortly. But here we get a better idea of the volume on the hourly. So yeah, you can see down here on these let's go here. Up here we got big volume, big volume, big volume, big volume, and it's not like tiny, it's not getting super small, but you can just tell the average is slowly coming down. It's slowly getting a little lower as it goes, just barely, not a lot, because AMD is one of those stocks where it's always one of the highest volume stocks. It's just got a lot of liquidity. Everyone loves day trading it, but the volume is definitely getting a little bit lower as it goes on, especially since the very top. I mean, the very top was just crazy volume, but yeah, we're seeing lower high candles here on AMD. So not like a dead like giveaway like this is absolutely gonna break up and go up, because it's just so much dependent on the market. The entire market's selling off like crazy, but that is definitely my favorite setup going into tomorrow, is just this falling wedge, I think. But you gotta be hesitant because it was already a falling wedge earlier. We had this support line going even before it broke out here. Then it broke out this morning, and I'm sure many people saw it broke out of that. It broke out of that resistance, and it had a strong green candle. It retested our strong green candle, and then it tumbled back down. So that's why I'm gonna be, if I see it break out, I'm not just gonna jump right in. I'm gonna wait, and make sure it holds it. You gotta see multiple retests in this market and be absolutely sure, because if it does break out of this, I think it will have a lot of upside. Just based off the gaps it has. Nothing about the company itself, just the gaps makes me think it's gonna rip up. That's AMD. AMD. Let's take a look. I'll just take a look at the NASDAQ while we're talking tech. So tech. So we almost have the same setup here for the NASDAQ, just there is no decreasing volume as this wedge goes down. I mean, if you were to draw your support line over here, it would not be a falling wedge, but just looking at the week, this past 5 days or whatever of trading, I would say we do have a falling wedge here on the NASDAQ. The support line we got drawn back here. It's kind of held up. It tested it on Monday. It bounced off. Almost tested it at the close, and we bounced. So same thing. It broke out, but immediately rejected it. And then the rest of the day, it rejected that line almost perfectly. So same idea there. Just watching for a breakout of this wedge. Same thing happened this morning. You could have fallen for it. I did not. I'm more skeptical. I'm going to wait for a key level to be broken and actually held before I get bullish again on NASDAQ for the short term. But we did break out of this wedge in the morning. It just barely broke out, honestly. It gapped up. We got that ugly candle, big fat green candle, and then a little, almost a doji there, and then rejected it hard and tumbled out the rest of the day. And then we have this key level here that broke on the NASDAQ, 341. That held up at the close of yesterday, and once we got there today, we just crashed right through it. So based on that, I'm expecting support to be here around 336 for the NASDAQ. If we can't hold that, I'm officially worried that we will go down probably to 330, and then after that, I'm mega worried that we see any lower than 317, because it's the same thing as the rest of the indices. The 4 hour. So the reason so many people got so bullish, because we made that higher high. We broke we broke 369, the high over here, the peak of this, or 370. We broke 370 just by like $1, just barely broke it, but it's still a higher high. So we're waiting for that lower low to get settled. And I thought personally we'd see it right here at 341. It looks like we're going to be going lower. Hopefully no lower than 317, because even then if we bounce off that, that'll still be a higher low and we'll still continue in the uptrend. But I did not, no one really expected this pullback to be so crazy. It was kind of just brought on by random Fed news, just typical. They're going to raise Fed rates. They're going to do a 50 basis point raise instead of 25 or whatever based on inflation. No one really knows what the Fed's going to do. So that's the fear and uncertainty. That's what leads to sell-off in tech, because tech always gets hammered when everyone's worried about a sell-off. So Yep, that's why the VIX is bumping. So that's what we're looking at for the Nasdaq. Is just hopefully we can hold up here and break out of this wedge to the upside, and I expect if we do, we'll be able to. We have multiple gaps now. Just insane how many gaps this thing has for a major index. We got that tiny little gap, and then that big old gap up here, which I'm really watching for. But it's still, yeah, it's so crazy. So it was just like the S&P. It tried to fill the gap from today and just couldn't, bounce off resistance. So that's what I'm looking for on the Nasdaq. Just got my eyes on those. So yeah, we got tiny little gap left from that from 2 days ago. Tiny little gap there. Big gap over here. And the only thing about this falling wedge I'm not completely convinced about, you usually want to see declining volume as the support and resistance converge. Volume has kind of been picking up recently in the NASDAQ and just bad selling these past couple days. So that's why I'm not going to be like, oh, we're done with this pullback if we break out of here. I got to see the important levels broken. And it looks like, based on just the timing of this, that once we're retesting this resistance, we'll also be retesting 341. So that's going to be something huge to watch out for. And same thing, I'm not going to, if we break it, I'm not going to be convinced we're going straight back up. I'm going to wait and see and just be patient. Because this pullback, I mean, these prices aren't going to be going anywhere. We'll have a face ripper day, but there'll be a chance to buy back in. There'll be plenty of chances. What else do we got here? So Microsoft. Microsoft, one of the biggest companies in the world. And it has just been, let's look at the 4-hour chart. This is what stands out to me. So Microsoft hasn't been this oversold since January 24th. And then before that, it was this oversold at January 10th. And both of those times it was this oversold, it had a pretty solid bounce. Nothing huge, like about a 10% bounce actually. And then back here we had 283, we bounced up to 314. So just for one of these mega huge cap tech stocks, it's shocking to see Microsoft getting sold off this hard. And you can just see on this RSI, we got the 4 hours officially oversold. On the daily, we aren't quite there yet. We are almost a little bit more. We do have a bit of a bullish divergence on the RSI here. You can see where it's about as oversold as it was when the price was way down here at like 273. So we're heading down towards this level here at 275, and we have to see that hold up for us to knock it for Microsoft really to stay in an uptrend. And it's the same thing. It barely broke the high we had over here back in February, and now we just got to see that higher low, and we're not going to see a higher low if we can't hold it here at 275. So that's mainly what I'm watching on Microsoft. This chart. The fib levels on Microsoft have really been money, and yeah, it's kind of crazy how solid they've been. Honestly, I love these fib levels that we have here. So you see back here, it tested a bunch, it held it, it bounced up, tested up here at 316, and that's where we gapped down below this fib level, and we haven't even tested that. So we have that fat gap there. We chopped around, just came down in this channel here on Microsoft, came down, extend that to the right. So we're in this channel bouncing around. We gapped down and broke through this key level here at 290. And then today, oh shit, we gapped up. Look at that, we're going. We broke that level. Big fat sell-off right at that level. Couldn't fill that gap. So that would lead me to believe we are unfortunately headed for the next level at 269. In between there, I would watch for... Oh shoot. Check that out. I'll be damned. There is a gap to fill from 278, a tiny little gap, 278.60 to almost just flat 278.10 or so. So not a very huge gap, but still there. Still something to watch out for. So I would say we'll probably go to fill that gap. Hopefully when that is filled, we can see some bounce here on Microsoft. But it is just getting absolutely hammered on this tech sell-off we've been seeing. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, so kind of like everything, just in a declining channel, just in like a textbook downtrend. I mean, This is, if I was looking more for the downside, this is what I would have seen as a bear. First off, you get your higher high, you get your higher low there. You're looking for the next higher high, but it rejects off of that higher high there. We don't get a higher high. It's just barely. And then you come down here, it breaks that. So if you were to, I mean, it did gap down, but if you were to enter Microsoft short as soon as it broke 305, it hasn't even come close to that, and you wouldn't even need to worry about stopping out. You get your lower low, your lower high. Let's go to the hourly. We'll get a better idea. So you get your lower low, your lower high, your lower low, your lower high, and so on and so forth. We're just going down, down, down. And that's why we got to break out of this level to make a higher high on this little micro trend we're in, that 290, and then hopefully find some support above 280. And that's mainly what I'm looking at for Microsoft. It's just really been getting hammered. It's kind of ridiculous how hard it's been getting sold off. And it typically does not see sell-offs like this. I mean, this is the most extreme since the start of the year. What else do I got on my notes? Google, same thing. I'm not going to look at Apple. Apple had a pretty green day today. It outperformed the entire market miraculously. Couldn't save the entire market, but we'll look at Google. Google, same thing. Oversold. Hasn't been oversold since January. Had a crazy bounce after this last time it was oversold. Back here, it was oversold, but didn't have a very crazy bounce. So that's another thing I'm looking at on Google. Multiple gaps to fill, and every tech stock, same idea. So many gaps to fill, it's just absurd. Just in this narrow, brutally narrow and parabolic, not really, but just straight down channel that it's not getting any support anywhere, and it's still, this stock is still like technically in a downtrend. I mean, this higher high we got off earnings, we never broke past that in this last little bounce up. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing on Google. It's not a great looking chart. If we break through to 2500, about 2500, then Google can really keep dropping there. What was Nvidia? Nvidia, same thing. Also right at support. Multiple gaps to the upside. Just been ridiculous selling on the semiconductors. We still have that gap to fill. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal. So we're heading towards support here at this 0 Fibonacci level. We got 206.40 or 206.24. We're about $6 off that. So if we can't hold that, we'll be seeing a lot more downside from Nvidia. Upside, we got to break the level here at 227.50, fill the gap. Next big level will be 224.48, and then still another gap up there to fill. So just not a lot to say about a lot of these stocks. I mean, so many things are just, their charts almost all look the same. This is what happens on the whole market. It's just like when we went up, every setup was just like, well, we're just going up and up. Same thing where we're going down. Everything's just going down, finding new lows every day. So this is a SoFi chart. I'll just take a look at a couple, maybe one or two small caps here. SoFi, just brutal. Just brutal. It's in this channel. We broke out of it back here during, that wasn't even earnings. Yeah, it broke out once, rejected it hard, then earnings, it rejected that. So we're in this kind of megaphone. The support and resistance line are going away from each other. I would expect we see SoFi come down to $5 if the market keeps selling off like this. By then, hopefully see a bounce. But yeah, it's just brutal for SoFi. It is just brutal. It's at all-time lows right now. And that's really all there is for SoFi. It's just, yeah, the volume is just, when it goes up, the volume gets strong at first, but just it dies, it dwindles, and then big old selling on the ride back down. It's got a ridiculous short interest, so yeah, that's about it for SoFi. ON we were green on today. So bam, we got ON here. So ON, we haven't even come down to test $50.73 there. We bounced before that, which I like that. So if this is the low here for ON, that would be great. If not, I expect we test that $50 level. And if that can't hold, I would seriously look at puts because it has a big gap to fill that it hasn't filled this entire pullback. So another thing I did see today, ON was another just ridiculously oversold tech name. We So, there we go. We had our support line, just this narrow line that it hasn't tested in days, and finally today we gapped out of that, and we are out of that. So technically, we broke that resistance line on ON. To be seen if it holds up or not. We have a gap to fill downside. Now, of course, it opens another gap. That's why I hate when it gaps up. So we have another little gap here. It's about a 1% gap, so nothing crazy, but about 0.5% actually. But yeah, just another semi name that's way too oversold. It's also oversold on the 4-hour. Hasn't been this oversold since the last pullback, or not the last pullback, but the big pullback in January. I expect to see a bounce here on ON. It's one of these names that's held up in the pullback, and the fact that it's sold off so hard from this is just ridiculous. And yeah, that's about it on ON. Tomorrow, just we'll look at the key levels again. So game plan for tomorrow. Game plan, if we gap down below this support line, I expect we go to 430. If we open sideways or open basically where we closed, hopefully if we pull back, we test here at about 435. If that holds, we bounce up. Hopefully test up here at 443. If we break out of that, we got to take 445, fill that gap. And that's about all I'm seeing on SPY. If the main thing to the downside I'm worried about is 435. If that doesn't hold up, it's just going to be wide open for more shorting and probably take us down to 429. So yeah, that's my SPY analysis, and that's about all I got for the market tomorrow. Not a lot of crazy setups. I really like the AMD one. I just know how fast those can move. They're awesome for traders like myself. I will look at maybe doing a call for that. I like the longer out calls, further out call. So right now, I mean, you can get a out of the money a ridiculous leap call. You get $100 120 call, which if that actually went back to 120, that would print. That would be solid. And that's a May one. So I really like these like further out, about a month out, and way out of the money calls. I think the risk is like basically nothing, but the reward is huge on AMD because everyone knows how crazy it can go up. So that would be my main play potentially on AMD. But that's about all I got. So I'll be back tomorrow, guys, with my game plan for Thursday. Good luck, everyone.